All right, everybody. Thanks for dropping in for another episode of the Crash Bang Boom Podcast, episode 305, in fact. Today's guest is making a reappearance on the Crash Bang Boom Podcast after many years, and drummer Bob Pantella of the Atomic Bitchwax and Monster Magnet. Bob and I caught up after his recent run for Bitchwax's 25th anniversary tour, where we got into that tour, talked about his recording studio and go-to gear, Franken-Kit's favorite drummers from the 70s and 80s, and even revisited Bob's time driving a yellow cab in New York in the 80s. So no shortage of 80s talk. I certainly hope y'all enjoyed as much as I did. Crash Bang Boom Podcast can be found where all podcasts are found. If you like what you hear, please check out in the previous 300 plus episodes and double high fives. If you can give me a like, a subscription, and or a positive review, as the support is appreciated. Thanks for tuning in over all these years. With that said, let's dabble our toes in the old hot tub. Bob Pantella, Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
All right, Bob Pantella back on the Crash Bang Boom Podcast. Dude, it's been like 5 or 6 years since we last spoke. Last time was in the basement of St. Vitus when you were on tour with Atomic Bitchwax. And Chris, the bass player, founding member, came over, was talking a lot of shit. I realized hanging out with at least the two of you at that time was much akin to like a Sopranos episode. It was a lot of ridiculous fucking humor, and I loved it. It was great.
True. Yeah, that I remember. In the basement of St. Vitus, which is no longer there.
Rest in peace, St. Vitus, correct?
Rest in peace, yeah. I think that was for, was that a Desert Fest thing?
I think it was.
Yeah, it was a good night. I remember that. It was packed.
Fuck yeah. Well, like I said, last time we caught up was here in Atlanta at the Earl, Atomic Bitchwax doing the 25-year anniversary tour, which was cool as hell. Always glad to see y'all still at it, road dogging it, and had a good time, talked a lot of shit, had a few Jägermeister shots and maybe a ton of other drinks, as I recall, but it was a good night was had nonetheless.
That wasn't me. I don't know.
That's right. How did that tour go, by the way?
Great. It was really good. It was starting to get cold, so I'm glad it didn't go any later into the year than that because, I mean, I love touring, but I hate touring in December, January, just because, stuff gets canceled, especially when we're driving ourselves in a van,
Right.
So going through the Rocky Mountains and all that kind of stuff can get a little dicey. It's dicey anyway, but never mind in December, January. But the tour was great. I think, who was it? Royal Thunder.
Uh-huh.
We toured with, and we did the top of the tour, the first half we did, the run was with the Super Suckers.
Okay.
And then we picked up in Oklahoma City with Royal Thunder.
Gotcha.
And, yeah, it was great.
Nice. Were there any towns along the way that were especially fun, or is there any particular sort of consistent city that y'all seem like you do have a good time in when you go there?
Atlanta is always a good time.
Yeah.
For many reasons. But yeah, I love playing Atlanta. It's a fun town. And it's kind of like, it's the beginning of the home stretch.
Right.
Usually for us, we'll go, we'll head west from here and then go around in a big circle. And then once you hit Atlanta, you just got to go up a couple states and you're home.
Yeah. How long was that tour? Do you recall?
It wasn't really that long. It was like 3.5 weeks, something like that.
Okay.
It seemed longer, of course. It always does.
What was one of the longest tours that y'all have done? If that was, you said not too long, it was about 3.5 weeks.
Well, let's see. Probably the hardest tour with Bitchwax in the States anyway. We did a tour with Black Label Society, and which was great, of course. But some of the drives were insane. And, we're ourselves in a van and they're on a bus with a real driver, and,
Right.
driving at night to get to these, these really far destinations from one city. I think we had to go from like Chicago to Dallas or something in a day.
Oh.
The next, stuff like that, Tennessee to LA in 2 days.
Damn.
And we usually don't drive at night, just because it's dangerous. And, we'll just get up early and start
Right.
our drive. That was insane. And that was like 5 years ago, something like that. And it was us and Conan, British metal band.
Yep.
Yeah, and we flip flopped opening, direct support every night,
Uh-huh.
and that was just I'm still broken from it.
How long were y'all out for?
It was only like a month, but it was the drives. It was like a pentagram, like around the country instead of, you know, it was insane. I couldn't believe it. Just like 10-hour drives every day, like that kind of shit.
Damn, dude.
And after a while, it gets to you.
Absolutely. Especially physically, the physicality of playing drums. I mean, your back, your fucking everything's aching, and then mentally you're tired. Everything.
And when you show up, it's like, go, like
Exactly.
the engine's still running and you're unloading. You got to go, throw and go.
Oh my God. Have you gotten sick on any of those long runs?
I don't. I get sick when I come home.
Really?
You know what I mean? I think it's psychological. The minute I lay down, I'm home, it's done. Everything just comes out, because I kind of don't. You're
Really?
like in fight mode almost on tour. You can't miss a beat. Pun intended.
Right.
So you really can't let yourself go, and until you get home, then I think your body knows like it's cool to just let it all out.
Wow, man. I love it that y'all are three knuckleheads swapping shifts, touring and jumping in the van and doing the whole thing. I mean, in today's world where everyone's shitting their pants over whatever AI development is tumbling the stock markets, you get to jump in a van with your buddies and go beat on stuff like a Cro-Magnon, dude. It's a pretty good choice.
The AI stock slide myself.
Oh, really? Oh, shit.
I'm singing the blues. Oh, yeah.
But at least what you've chosen for the most part to do, at least for now, seems to not be being replaced by AI in the form of live music, I would think.
Yeah, we're old school, no in-ears, no nothing, old school.
Count it off, fucking play the songs.
Yeah, that's it. Sometimes they're going to be fast, a little too fast, and then sometimes they'll be a little faster.
Right, exactly. Not necessarily too slow, though, which is good. I'm not gonna lie. I saw ZZ Top at the Jazz Fest many years ago, and while those songs have always been pretty slow, pretty groovy songs, they were playing them slower than even on the record, and I gotta say, it was such a bummer. And I really dig ZZ Top, but I was like, "Fuck."
I love Billy. I mean, and especially the old, the
Frank Beard.
Oh yeah, or Rube Barb. Remember his name?
Yeah,
Rube Barb before he changed it to Frank Beard.
Frank Beard, Rube Barb was pre-Frank Beard.
Yeah.
I'll be damned. And then Dusty Hill passed, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, the old ZZ Tops. I love it, man. It's so great. I love Billy Gibbons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw them. Same thing. It was slower than the album, which is very strange.
It's already pretty slow music,
Right. So, yeah. That's
Damn.
just how they sometimes, I guess.
Right. I mean, yeah, I still throw on Tejas and Tres Amigos are probably two of the ones.
Tres Amigos are great. Rio Grande Mud.
Yeah.
So great. And the album cover art is, especially Tres Amigos.
Oh, is that where you open it up? It's a giant plate of nachos or something?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Wow. Like road food,
Totally.
The front cover is so bizarre. Like I guess maybe it's Frank Beard. One of them's up on a telephone pole.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's great.
Yeah. They were getting high and having a good time in Texas.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, man. When did you start the recording studio venture here? Because I know for myself, I started probably, I didn't have a space to do it until 2.5, 3.5, maybe 4 years ago. And that's when I started collecting mics. And then it's a matter of piecing together some the inputs and then making sure that your DAW works and everything. And I'm not even like a guy with a board like you are. I'm just basically inputs with pre-mics. The mics go up and then I treat everything after the fact. But I've been able to get good sounds. But man, it's been it's been a trek getting to where I'm at now.
Yeah, it's a battle.
Yeah.
Especially drum sounds, but I get a great drum sound. And this board here, I just like it for preamps.
Yeah.
I don't mix with it, there's no point.
Right.
in the box, and then I have some other API amps for kick, snare, and the overheads. I'll use it for that, and then for the rest of the stuff, I'll use the preamps on the board.
Yeah.
And I use an Apollo system.
Yep.
With Pro Tools, And how long have I had it? Well, I guess it started really in the late '90s, just out of necessity.
Yeah.
Just for writing and stuff like that. Then it just grew and grew and grew. Then of course I got more and more obsessed, and one thing leads to another. And this space is great. I love it in Jersey, in Keyport.
Okay.
I've been here, I don't know, almost 20 years. I've been in this spot.
For real? That studio space?
Yeah.
Dude, you're so lucky, man. I feel like if you were in like the anywhere in like New York proper, nothing is sacred and everything gets cannibalized and everyone gets kicked to the curb fucking daily there, having lived there myself for 15 years. So, dude, I'm glad to hear that there's been like permanence in your studio situation, because it's fucking hard, man.
And I got very lucky, and I love this place. I mean, I just hang out here. Even if I got nothing going on, I'll just watch TV and chill out and just be around all my shit. But the building, it's a 3-story building. It's an old building, like 100 years old. It used to be a factory, I think, caulk, something like some shit like that. It's 100 years old. It's got a freight elevator, thank God. That works 75% of the time.
Yeah.
The bottom floor is a factory, like a packaging factory. And then the second floor and the third floor, which I'm on, are all studios. Most of them are rehearsal studios. And there's one other recording studio. And then mine's the recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
I got the best room in the building. It's great. I got lucky.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's a room built in a room. It's properly built. It was my landlord's studio, and he built another one downstairs for himself, and now he just uses it for an office or something. But so he really took a lot of extra care building this room, and it's great. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I love this spot.
I hear you. How big is the drum room behind you there? Is it like a relatively
20 by 20, something like that?
Yeah.
Feet.
Right. Yeah.
And really high ceiling, and the ceiling's like on a, I don't know, 20-degree angle.
Okay.
It sounds great.
Nice. Do you have a kit that stays set up that you seem to like the most? And I guess there's a snare drum question in there too.
Yeah, I have. It depends. If I'm rehearsing, it's a different kit. If I'm recording, it's another kit.
Yeah. For recording though.
For recording, it's a Frankenstein kit.
Okay.
And again, that depends too. If I'm doing garagey kind of stuff and I want an old school sound, you're going to laugh at this. My wife has a beautiful set of 1976 set of Big R Rogers.
Oh, nice.
And they sound great, like Mitch Mitchell. It's got
absolutely,
coated heads, and they ring like crazy, which sounds great. And I'll use that for like garage rock kind of stuff. It's got a 24-inch kick, which sounds great. And what is it? The snare, the Rogers snare, the Dyna.
Oh, the Dynasonic?
Dynasonic. Great snare. I love it. It's great.
That's one snare that I do not own. I've got Superphonics. I've got Black Beauty knockoffs. I've got Slingerland brass, a bunch of brass snares, etc. I have yet to own a Dynasonic because the snare mechanism was so antiquated. I was like,
I don't know what it is either. So you know what I did? I took it off. I don't know what that thing is. Somebody answer that for me. I don't know. Funny thing is, I have two of them. I had one anyway, and then she had one, but hers was in better shape. Mine was all apart, and because I had recorded some garage stuff with mine with Magnet, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
And then I had the tech, I don't know, I wound up in pieces. So anyway, I used hers, and it sounds so great.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then for the typical rock stuff, I use it's not the Superphonic. It's an older Ludwig, a thinner. It's from like 64, 65.
Okay. Not the acrolite, not the Supraphonic.
Acrolite.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that thing, playing it live, it sucks. It doesn't have any love at all,
Yeah.
But when I record with it, it comes alive, and it can be any kind of snare you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just by turning one lug, it sounds giant. You know what I mean? It's amazing. It sounds so good. But live, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll use that for 99% of recording.
Wow.
And then I have, remember Paice drums? Remember that company, Peace,
Yeah.
from California? I got a nice maple, 22-inch maple, I think 22 by 18 depth maple shell kick drum that I'll use. And I typically live, I like 26-inch, the Bonzo that
Right.
I love. But recording it, you're stuck with that. You can't really undo that. But with the, I can make it sound like that or not. If it's something fast, the 26 really, it's too floppy.
Right.
It's floppy, especially for the Bitchwax stuff. It's just, and I've tried it, and it just sounds like a mess. It gets lost in the mix.
Right.
The smaller drums record better for me anyway, and I use typically a 13-inch rack, the Paice rack, or I have an old Ludwig from an Accent kit, cheap, a 13-inch rack tom. That sounds great with the white coated head. I like recording with white coated heads.
Yeah, me too.
The Ambassador or Emperor.
Right. Single ply or double ply, whichever way you want to
Single,
go.
I love, but they don't last long, but they sound great.
Yes.
And then a 16 and 18 floor. 2 crashes, right, left, and a rod and a hat. That's it.
Right.
Simple kit. But anyway, so that's mainly what I'll use is that Ludwig Acrolite and that 22-inch kick, and I'll interchange the toms, the rack tom depends what I need it for, but typically I'll use the 13-inch Ludwig Accent, which is it's a cheapo tom, but it just records really well. It does what I want it to do.
Right.
And then for live, then I'll use, like with Magnet, I'll use the clear.
This light kits. Yeah.
Yeah, which I love, Great live. Looks cool.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. When I first got it, I really wanted it to record well, and it didn't for me. It was just, and again, it was too sloppy, even for the Magnet stuff, which is not as intricate as like the Bitchwax stuff. It's, more slow groove stuff, but it's still,
Yeah.
it just didn't come across. I wound up, it's a Frankenstein kit usually. Depends on the song. I'll interchange bass drums. It depends.
Yeah.
But it's cool live. I love it. And for the Bitchwax live stuff, I'll use an Accent kit. It's a beater kit because there's no techs or anything like that. We're on our own.
Right.
We do everything. We don't have a merch guy or nothing in the States. In Europe, we have a guy.
Right.
But I'm a terrible drum tech. It's the 26-inch kick, the 13 rack, 16, 18, like a champagne sparkle. I think it used to be silver, but now it's champagne from all the cigarette smoke.
Right.
Anyway, it was like $700. I was like, I gotta get this. Had the 26-inch kick. I beat the shit out of it. Throwing it. I don't mean playing it. I mean, obviously, yeah.
Right.
But like on the road,
Yeah.
setting it up. And it fucking sounds great. I can't believe it for such a cheap kit. I change the heads when I have to.
Yeah.
And it just works, and I don't worry about it. I'll replace the screw or whatever. It's not that hard to keep it up and running. The Vista lights, I worry about
everything.
Oh my God, I'm gonna scratch it.
Crack. God forbid you get a crack in the shell.
Oh, no, I mean, even scratching a crack in the shell, I'd be pissed. I think they make them a little thicker than they used to.
They do, and they're even like sonically more solid, like tonality wise. Because I had one from that was 70, and it was a little wonky. Like the bearing, it was a little wonky. It had definitely a sound, but to your point, I tried recording with it, and it sounded a little strange. But live, just in the mix, it was always cool. I got compliments on it all the time, but it didn't record very well, and it was a little inconsistent with that. But yeah, the new ones it's a different thing.
Right. And so, and with Magnet, I'll have a drum tech and everything, and they're really careful. I, use the microfiber cloth. Don't use a rag, I'm sweating, a towel.
Right.
Uh, when I first got them, my God, I was every little fingerprint. It drove me nuts. It was, you know, it's like a new car. You want it to sparkle.
Right, right. Absolutely. You mentioned going to Europe and having like an extra guy with y'all. What is it that I guess you love about going to Europe over there? It always seems like everyone that I've spoken to that there's a great network of clubs. They treat the bands really good. You get an extra person. Like it's just set up really, really well. That sounds like that's been your experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, number one, it's the money. The money's better.
Yeah.
People come out. The crowds are better as far as attendance.
Uh-huh.
It's just more organized, really. It's
Yeah.
And we'll rent everything, and we do have an extra guy, but we also have to pay him. But he's part of our family almost when it comes to touring in Europe or anywhere in the world. We'll take him, except for the States, because it doesn't make any sense. It's more expensive to do Europe as far as your initial expenses. You got to fly over there and all that. But a lot of these places they'll take care of accommodations and all that stuff. Here, you're on your own,
Right.
you know. So yeah, Europe, it's just the money's better and we get treated a little better and we got a guy.
Exactly.
Life a lot easier, and he's great. And it's nice because he speaks a few languages, which helps us out. When you're going from country to country,
Yeah.
you know, it gets a little difficult. Although most of the time, everybody speaks English for the most part. But once in a while, you get like at the borders and stuff like that. You want to
Right.
make sure the communication doesn't get wires don't get crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. With the studio recording stuff, I mean, it's always a learning experience as well to be recording yourself and literally looking at the waveforms and seeing at times what little idiosyncratic tendencies you might have in your own playing. I know for me, every time it comes down to recording double bass sections or something like that, I'm like, oh, fuck. One note is a little off, maybe either in volume or just, rhythmically. And I prefer just getting it right rather than quantizing stuff and like trying to map everything to a grid. But, yeah, that's one of those learning experiences where you're like, you think you got it, and then you're like, God damn it, that I have a tendency to do this one stupid thing, and you got to work it out. It's the way it goes.
And yeah, exactly. And usually when I'm doing drums and when I'm recording drums, I will be by myself,
Yes.
which is nice because then I don't have to, nobody's judging me, looking over my shoulder, like I present it when I'm ready to present it, which
Yes.
is very convenient.
Right.
But so if I'm and exactly that, I have bad habits, that you don't realize while you're playing, but when you listen back and you're not actually in the moment,
Yeah.
you can hear idiosyncrasies. I don't give a shit, man. I go in there and I'll do surgery.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want it to sound right.
I hear you. I hear you.
Sometimes you don't know, right away until you start mixing and the stuff is layered on top of it.
Right.
It's way past the point of re-recording or anything, and you have to go in and do surgery. You got to move stuff around and make it right.
Yeah.
And you can't know that right away.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like if there's no bass on it yet, stuff like that. So
With the Monster Magnet recordings, were there any of those that were super stressful on your behalf?
no, not really. We rehearse the shit out of it. We do a lot of pre-production.
Nice.
And that really makes it a lot easier as far as performance and stuff like that. So you get to focus more on sounds,
Yes.
which, is something you really can't rehearse until you're in the studio
Yeah.
and they're doing it, where the rubber meets the road, you get to focus your energy on that, not worry about, how am I going to play this? You're not distracted by that. You got that all worked out.
Uh-huh.
So no, we're very with Magnet, very tedious, and we go over every little thing. We don't let anything slip through the cracks,
Yeah.
which is great. And last album we did here, which was great because you're not paying $5,000 a minute,
Yeah.
because that's stressful if you're holding shit up and it's costing money.
Big time.
that's really stressful.
Yeah.
So, and again, I got to do a lot of the drums by myself,
Nice.
and then present it, and it's just, and as far as like grid editing and stuff like that, I don't like to do that unless it's that type of a song,
Uh-huh.
you know. But if it's like a garage rock song or something like that,
Yeah.
something, or little punk rock edge to it or something, I won't do that. It's got to
Yeah.
have push and pull, you
I hear
know.
you. Yeah. You
Yeah.
strike me as a player both in the studio and especially live. As well, we've also talked about it, 70s drummers and those recordings and stuff that we both dig. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
live energy in the drum performances and everybody's performances from that era. That seems like something that, because some guys are like, when I go in the studio, like I am a studio player, and it's like, that's cool. There's amazing guys that just do studio work, and I marvel at that too. I feel like the projects that you play in, especially with Bitchwax, like part of the performance in the studio is to have some of that live energy. So,
Oh, absolutely. So like, which I think we're going to do this again for the next album, which we are still writing at the moment,
yeah,
um, is, well, whatever the tempo of the song might be, we'll have a start off click and then mute it and just, and then record the drums, let the push and pull happen.
yeah,
So editing down the road, it's not that difficult, but you don't want to even have to do that. You want to especially if you're going to track the rhythm guitar, or one rhythm guitar and most of the bass. It's nice to just record it live like that, and keep the push and pull. We did that with Gravitron, and it worked out really great. But we had it all worked out. We did a lot of pre-production, recorded it. Set up a mic, two mics in the room, and then we just started off a click at whatever 138 BPM, 8 clicks, and then the click would stop.
Well, speaking of just sort of the push pull and sort of embracing that in the music and everything with Atomic Bitchwax, especially, I was thinking about some recordings of guys. Ian Paice is always a guy. Love it with Deep Purple. I was curious, are you more of a in rock and Machine Head or Coverdale era with Burn and Come Taste the Band for Deep Purple?
I mean, as far as just drumming, all of that, all
I
of
know,
it.
right?
But in rock and Machine Head, Fireball, that intro,
Right.
the double bass.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I love that intro. It's great.
It's great.
And I met Ian Paice and I asked him about that. And he said, funny enough, I was on tour. I used to play in a band. This was back in like 89 or 90. I was in a band called Raging Slab.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were in that band. Crazy.
And we had stopped in some bar. And who walks in but Richie Blackmore and Ian Paice in some random bar with a band playing, some cover band was playing.
What?
Amazing. What are the odds of that, And of course, we asked Ian Paice, what are you doing here? He likes his beer.
Right.
And that's the closest watering hole.
I'll be damned.
So I asked him about the Fireball intro thing, and he said when they were recording it, there was Keith Moon's drum set was in the other room, and he took one of the bass drum from Moon's set and added it to his for the intro of Fireball.
Wow.
Yeah, really cool.
I'll be damned, dude.
And I got a kick out of that. And I think Blackmore was there looking for some, Southern pussy.
I would imagine he was. Boy, talk about an eccentric dude, and there's all sorts of perspectives on sort of dealing with Richie Blackmore, but undeniable. I mean, between Deep Purple and between Rainbow and all that, I mean, goddamn, what can you say, right?
Amazing. That early Deep Purple, the black and white footage. I forgot what kind of guitar he's playing. A hollow body, I think it is. Some kind of hollow body. I mean, wow. I mean, the whole band, and it's just, you can't even believe it, but Blackmore's just flawless.
Ripping. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, man. Man, I love it that you got to actually just talk to Ian Paice. He's always been a guy that I've been such a big fan of. And like I said, so many
me
kind
too.
of drummers from that era. But we kind of touched on like Richie Blackmore's work with Rainbow. And I mean, Cozy Powell's playing on both Rising and Long Live Rock and Roll. Cozy was such a badass too. I talk about that guy all the time.
I love Cozy. He's like John Bonham with double bass.
Right.
The two 26-inch kicks. That's so great.
Yeah.
Ever see that the footage of him doing that world record, how many drums you can hit in a minute or under a minute or some shit?
No, I don't think so.
It's this giant white room, like some kind of studio, and there's all these drums on like toms on stands set up in a giant circle, like really big, where you got to run. He's running and trying to hit all the drums like under a minute, not playing anything musical, just hitting everything,
Yeah.
It's really funny. It's very entertaining. If you ever get it's like the world record for hitting the most drums in a minute.
Nice. And then, in addition to Cozy, and of course, Ronnie James Dio as well. Between work with Black Sabbath and like Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell, those records are great. And then you've got, obviously the Rainbow stuff and then his solo stuff with Vinnie Appice playing Carmine's brother. I think I pronounced Vinnie's name right.
I think Carmine pronounces it Appice and Vinnie Appice.
Vinnie Appice, right? Yeah. Even though they're
Carmine,
right, exactly.
I think whatever Carmine says goes.
I think you're right. Did with those Dio records, even if it's like Holy Diver, Last in Line, etc., I really dig Vinnie's playing on those records as well.
Really great, really tasty, unique. He's got his own thing happening, sound wise too.
Yes.
Not just his style, but yeah, great.
Yeah, man.
And of course, Carmine, Vanilla Fudge. Come on.
I know.
Yeah. Love that shit.
Absolutely. He was doing he was really one of the first guys I saw doing cymbal catches like that. And
yeah.
Later on, like Tommy Aldridge and later Tommy Lee, especially. Tommy Lee fucking took it way over the top.
Yeah.
But I think like some of those cymbal catches, first I've seen video of it, might have been Carmine with Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah. That's some Ed Sullivan.
Right. Which is
color.
Which is wild.
Yeah, really something, man. Great. You keep me hanging on.
That's right. Ripping that cover, man. Holy shit.
So great.
Yeah.
So, I love Carmine. And Vinnie and Carmine and Vinnie are very different.
Yes.
Players.
I did Carmine's playing with Cactus as well. Like he's got some
Cactus. Evil.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's literally if you listen to one song, like man.
What's that? That's Howlin' Wolf, right? Evil.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, the drum fills in that are great, and there's a million of them.
A lot to choose from.
Yeah, some great. I know the holes he leaves in the fills are great.
Absolutely.
But he's not playing. That's great.
Yeah, I tell you who else was a shredder that doesn't ever really seem to get the credit for it on the guitar end. I mentioned Holy Diver and Last in Line of the Dio solo stuff. Vivian Campbell's playing on that stuff.
Vivian.
So badass. Great tone, ripping riffs, and ripping fucking solos. I feel like that guy never got the respect due to him.
Vivian Campbell, yeah. Great guitar player. And White Snake.
Right.
All that.
Now Def Leppard, I think he's Def Leppard's guitar.
I think he's in Def Leppard, yeah. I mean,
Right.
Got some good gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, the paycheck is good. He gets to play a solo every now and again. I'm sure, he's fine with it.
Yeah, he's fine with it. And I don't think the paycheck was so great back in the Dio days. I think that was kind of...
what I heard was that they said, after the first record, we'll talk. We'll give you a cut. After the second record, we'll talk. We'll give you a cut. And then it was like the third record. He was like, what happened to the cut? And they were like, you're fired.
You're fired. That's what happened to the cut.
That's what happened to the cut.
So brutal.
Fucking brutal. I mean, not as brutal as Sharon replacing Lee Kerslake and Bob Daisley's parts on fucking Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz on the reissue. That's the most brutal.
That's sacrilegious, man.
Sacrilegious, dude.
That's wrong.
It's so wrong. And what's especially fucked up is like Bob Daisley, similar to Ozzy's relationship with Geezer Butler, Bob Daisley wrote all the lyrics for Ozzy's goofy ass. I mean, he had melodic ideas, but he always had a bass player writing lyrics for him, and it's like, how do you replace his bass part when he was writing you the lyrics? And like, also, you had the money, just resolve the issue, pay it, whatever. They made the record great. It doesn't sound great necessarily, but fuck it, like erasing someone from the record off of a classic album, that is so fucked.
Classic. And those lyrics are great.
They're awesome.
They're really, really great lyrics.
I agree. Do you remember the first time you heard Diary of a Madman?
Sure, yeah. I'm Blizzard of Oz. I remember when it first came out. Yeah, sure. I remember I knew right away it was going to be great just by looking at the album cover.
Right.
I always loved Black Sabbath,
Yeah.
and I knew it would be great, and it didn't disappoint. And forget about Randy Rhoads,
Right.
Holy shit, that was a whole new world. It was great. Yeah, I remember. What year was that? 80? I guess it was like 1980.
It was early. Yeah.
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 I remember seeing it in a record store. Ozzy holding the cross. Oh, it was great.
Did you get to see them live with Randy at any point?
Never did. Nope.
Damn.
Never got to see them. Nope.
Yeah, I was born in 76, so my first Ozzy record was Bark at the Moon, right when it came out.
Right.
And you know what? Well, as I mentioned earlier, another guitarist that never got credit and it's just like shit upon, especially from the Ozzy camp, is Jakey Lee on Bark at the Moon and The Ultimate Sin. I don't know what happened there. I read the Ozzy autobiography. All he said about Jakey Lee was, once Bark at the Moon came around, Jakey Lee was the guitarist. That's it.
Wow. Well, who knows?
I don't know what the deal is, but I say put some respect on Jakey Lee's name because that dude was a badass. He had to replace Randy Rhoads for fuck's sake on 2 records.
Badlands was great.
That's funny. I didn't listen to much of the Badlands. I got to check it out.
It was great. Oh my God. And he had Ray Gillen, right? It was Ray Gillen, Eric Singer, and I forgot who played bass.
Right.
And Ray sounded great. It had everything you want. And the timing, when it came out, the timing was right for it.
Right.
And Eric Singer, another great drummer. The first time I heard Eric Singer is when he was playing when Paul Stanley was doing a solo tour.
Okay.
I think that Lemoore. I think that's where I saw it in Brooklyn.
Really?
That's where I saw it. Yeah, a long time ago.
Damn, dude. Yeah, Lemoore was prior to my time. I didn't even move to New York until it was 2005. So I wasn't didn't have the 80s and 90s experience of New York and of that time.
I used to drive a taxi in a yellow cab in New York in the 80s.
That's hilarious.
That was interesting.
I think you might have told me about this. Did you say, was there some guy you were picking up dudes and with prostitutes and shit? Is that what was going on?
Oh, yeah. I pick up prostitutes all the time to, at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, it was slow. So I'd go over to the west side, like 11th Avenue. And there was, 11th Avenue and in the low 40s, high 30s, there was tons of prostitutes. And, it'd be like a 2-3 block taxi ride. And, I'd make $5. It's better than just sitting around doing nothing.
Right.
And all the time, yeah. And I'd be picking up their Johns, going around the corner. The stories are on and on and on,
Oh my God.
People would pay me with drugs. Guys jerking off in the back seat by themselves. Like, all right.
God damn.
Yeah, all kinds of weird shit. Yeah. And
that's hilarious.
Pick up one time, Anton Fig.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. He was playing. I guess it was the David Letterman show.
Yeah.
Bringing him to his apartment uptown. Yeah.
Wow.
Funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had some Night Stalkers, some Johns, Anton Fig, a couple of rogue masturbators.
Rogue masturbators, yeah.
Holy shit, that's so funny, dude. Oh my God. What about Monster Magnet, man? Have y'all recorded anything? What's going on with Monster Magnet?
We're in the studio right now. We've been working on a new record for months. We just did a 35th anniversary tour in Europe in September, October.
Wow.
35 years, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That was fun. That was really cool. And then I had the Bitchwax tour and then back in the studio with Magnet. So between Magnet and Bitchwax, we're both in the studio.
Yeah.
The next tour coming up, we might do something at the end of March, maybe. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear on that in the States, maybe. East Coast stuff.
Right.
Tours booked for end of July, most of August in Europe with Bitchwax. Going all over UK and mainland Europe.
Damn.
And basically it's, this whole winter and most of the spring is just going to be in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your little safe space there, Bob.
Oh, I love it here, man. Yeah. Yep.
You get to postpone your anxiety about getting back on the road and living that nomadic rock and roll lifestyle, man. You get to occupy yourself.
I love that too. You only have one thing to think about on tour. Life is very easy.
Right.
As far as what you have to do every day. You have to do one thing. Get there and play.
Yeah.
And do it again and do it again.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, it was great talking to you, man. Thanks for catching up. Appreciate the time, and glad to see the studio and hear you're working on stuff. And I know you're always churning something out there.
Oh, yeah. And thank you so much, Jody.
All right, that does it for this one. Thanks to Bob for catching up and talking gear, shredders, and prostitutes, and Johns, and yellow cabs, and Franken-Kits. Always a good time. Hope y'all enjoyed it, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. Stay tuned. Crash, bang, boom.